this part we will continue crochet our back, just to remind what we have done in our first part. We just finishing our first one row, and now we will start with fifth one. On the fifth one row, we will do single crochet in back side loop only. What does it mean? So instead of put our hook under two loops, we will put under just one loop, which is back one. So how to identify which back one loop is? It's the back one from where you're looking right now when you're crocheting, and we take a loop through like back loop, and then on the hook we're receiving two loops, and then we take our like finishing loop through our two loops on the hook. I forgot a stitch marker, so don't forget to put it on the first one loop we have done, or first one single crochet we have done in our row, just to mark where we have started, and don't forget to end our row at this point. All our fifth one row will be just single crochet in back loop only, without increasing or decreasing. Here's the end of our fifth one row, and we ending it as usual. Already we have done all our previous rows. The sixth one row would be also without increasing or decreasing. We will put our hook under the loop from our fifth one row, and then from our fourth one row, and then taking the thread through three loops we already have on our hook. Uh, just to repeat again, the pattern, we will take like loops or hole from our fifth one row, and take a yarn through it, and then from our fourth one row take a yarn from it, and then take yarn through all three loops we have on our hook right now, and continue doing like all the way through this sixth one row. As usual, I have left a couple stitches in the sixth one row, just to remind how to do this, and we will finish our sixth one row as usual, as we already have did all our previous one rows. we need to take our hook from a different side of our crochet, take the yarn through that hole and join it, putting our taking loop through loops we just receive, and making one loop just to make a knot. Actually, did you remember that yarn which are left? And probably you ask a question when we will hide it, and now is this point, which is putting our hook in the next one loop from where this yarn is now in, and take a loop through this hole, then through the next one take a loop and make like slip stitches, and then continue to do it all the way through just to next one hole, to next one, and in this case we will hide all our holes, and also we will hide our yarn. Here's the result. It look different from different side, but it's what we intended to do. And now we will start our first flower row. Just don't rush on it. We take a loop through our loops, then take a yarn over our hook, then take a loop from the same loop again, and now we have 4 loops on our hook. We need to skip a couple loops, just 2 loops, and continue crochet in the third one from where we are now. Again, we put our hook on a third one loop, take a yarn over this. After this action, we need to put our yarn over our hook again and take another loop from the same loop we just did. We have 7 loops on our hook, and at this point we take our yarn through all of them, and on the back side we will receive a little yarn covered, but we will sort it out later. At this point we just need to take yarn through all our loops and then make a loop again, just to yeah just to do it. Sorry, my pathetic explanation. And now there are 2 loops left between these petals of our flower, and in these loops we will put the yarn over our hook and then put our hook in a first loop. Please check that on the back side you have also like going through that like long yarn we just did from doing our petals. At this point we have 3 loops on our hook. We take yarn firstly through 2 of them, and then we receive 2 loops on our hook and take yarn through next one 2 of them. So we did just for 1 loop we have in between our petals, and now we need to do it for the second one. Again, we take yarn over our hook, and then we put our hook in the loop just left from our row, and don't forget again to check that we also like take the yarn which need to hide. And we have 3 loops on our hook. We take yarn through 2 of them firstly, and secondly we will take the yarn through next 2 of them. And at this point we can say that we did our pattern. It's actually how it's look like. Just to showing you again, focusing, please, focusing, yeah, done. How to do this pattern. Firstly we will do 2 petals by skipping 2 loops and putting our first loop to start in the same loop of our second loop we just did. The pattern would be the same. We take loop over that hole, then take yarn over the hook, take a loop through that hole, and then we skip 2 loops, and in the third one we put our hook and taking yarn over it, then putting our yarn over the hook and taking again yarn through it. Just a moment. Actually now we have 7 loops on our hook, and we need to take like yarn through all of them and make a like connected loop, I could say. And at this point we will cover it our 2 like skipped loops from the previous row. We just need to take a yarn over our hook and then put our hook in a first lefted loop, and also check that the yarn we just like choosing like using for our petals is covered, and taking yarn through 2 of the loops and then through next 2 loops, and then continue this row again when we putting our hook in the second skipped loop, and then through 2 of loops and then through 2 of loops again. So here's the pattern. We will continue to do all the way through with this pattern. Hope it's understandable. Just in case you need to repeat here, there, but without my pathetic voice, pathetic explanation, hope it would be clear. Actually, I completely forgot to put the stitch marker again. Sorry, don't forget to do it. You need to put it in the first loop we just did from our petal. Here's our final row. We still will do the same pattern. Here it would be the question where to put our second petal. So the first one we will put in the same loop from the previous petal, and the second petal we will put in the petal from our first one flower, I could say. It's the same loop where is our stitch marker. To finish our first flower row, we need to do slip stitch in the loop we just receive on the top of our petal, or like center of flowers. I put a hook inside the loop from like two of our petals join, and then between our two next stitches, and then take yarn through all of it and make a slip stitch, not a single crochet. And our row is done. Now we make one loop just to end it, and we will start to make a second one of flower row when we already have a little bit a different situation with our loops. So what we will do, pattern still will be the same, but we use a little different holes or loops from our previous row. So we use the center for our petals, center which we already have defined, center of our flowers, where we will put to our loops, to our petals, and the pattern stays the same. We did the 7 loops, and then take a yarn over all of them, and after it we still need to make 2 stitches, and to find our 2 loops where we need to put our hook at this point, it still would be in the middle of our petals, but please look carefully how to find it. It's actually like the fourth one loop from the first pattern of the petal, and then the joined loop from the first one petal to the second one petal. Yeah, I know it sounds weird, but I hope that on the video it's much more clear and visible. And after we define with loops, we still continue with the same pattern. At this point, please don't forget to put stitch marker on our like center or where we have start our first petal to know where to finish our row. And here I would show again how to do the petals in this row. And here is how flowers will look like. We still need to have done one pattern. Again, we will use for our first petal the petal, the hole we're using for petal from a previous row, and then we will use the hole from a petal of our first pattern to put a second petal of our current pattern. Yeah, and pattern stays the same. And to finish whole row, again we need to put a slip stitch between our petals. Then we continue to crochet the row with the same pattern. Actually, it's quite interesting. Then on one side we're receiving these wonderful flowers, and on another side we're receiving just the plain pattern. Um, Here's our result at this point. See you in our next video.